This is the Peter Greenwood Show at the Glasgow Film Festival. I am sitting directly opposite, in my path. Although, if I go straight ahead, there's that little gap between you two. So, just to give the audience a flavour of what we're doing here. Anyway, these two gentlemen have made a film and they're here to tell me about it. Could you tell me your names and what you do, please?
I'm Colin McIvor. I'm the co-writer and director of a film called No Ordinary Heist.
And I'm Damien Elliott. I'm the cinematographer of No Ordinary Heist.
How are you today? You well?
Good, yeah. Yep.
All good.
So let's talk No Ordinary Heist. You say at the very start of a film, based on true story, certain bits and bobs have been changed. What made you want to make a movie about this particular story?
Yeah, it was just one of those events that happened on my doorstep that I felt was, in terms of a human story of two people sort of fighting to save their family's lives, and also the biggest cash heist in British and Irish history, where the gang never stepped foot inside the bank. You know, all of it just sort of layered into what I thought was could be an incredibly cinematic movie and emotional sort of roller coaster for the characters. So that was the genesis of it. You know, we had made a couple of films previously and short films and stuff, and the true story aspect of it was interesting, but I was never interested in the real people, the politics of what happened afterwards in Northern Ireland and stuff like that. It was more just these two guys having to sort of in 24 hours, you know, do what it takes to save their families. So yeah, that's where it came from.
How much did you change from the original story? I imagine names and maybe a location or two, but how much did you stray and go into the creative element of it?
Yeah, well, we changed names, obviously. I mean, it's in the public domain, the story, and there's documentaries out there, so anyone interested in what you know, the real story is there. But the real story is incredibly dramatic and harrowing as well. I mean, it was a really tough experience for the families, you know, which we will never underestimate, you know. But we did take creative license in, you know, a number of areas, you know. I mean, even the look and the feel of it, you know, the vault, you know, for example, the real vault in the Northern Bank was a very, very, very basic little sort of almost like an office space, you know. So we both come from a very cinematic background and got a cinematic eye towards these things. So that was always the leader to a certain extent, within remaining true to the story. But I would say most of the sort of key beats are true to the story, you know. And what's nice about doing something that is a true story, it gives people the opportunity to go back and go, oh my god, that really did happen, you know. So we didn't stray too far, but yes, we fictionalized the characters for sure.
I'd like to ask a little bit about the look of the film that you brought up. When it came time to film the vault and some of those drone shots, where did those visions come from, and how did you work together to make them happen?
Well, for a start, I mean, Colin and I have known each other for 20 years, you know, so there's a definite shorthand, and, you know, we're familiar with each other, and you know, we were able to Colin had come up with an incredible mood board, you know, like which he's probably been putting together for months and months, and so that's great for me to work off and start thinking about, and then locations are being scouted and found, and in particular, well, in a basic sense, the exteriors were all shot in Belfast and the interiors were shot in Dublin. So that vault area was actually a lower ground area of a street in central Dublin. The drone shots were, I mean, just talking about those in particular, because, I mean, that's an area where, I mean, I'm not a drone operator. I mean, we hire a good drone, you know, firm, and that they were incredible. I mean, the work that they did, you know, those few aerials that we had were just they're just incredible. They really are. You know, really like you know, and that's one of those times where, I mean, I'm kind of directing as much as Colin in a way, because, you know, somebody else is doing the operation of the two-man team, somebody flying, and then there's a camera operator as well. But, you know, they really have it's an incredible extra view. I think, you know, I think it's fair to say that, you know, drone stuff can be pretty pedestrian, you know, like we've seen a lot of stuff, and, you know, and it's now being used to replace, you know, shots close to ground that would have been maybe crane shots in the past, you know, and, you know, and there's but and so certainly it was. I think it came from Colin that we just really wanted something that had very, very singular look to it, and we absolutely got that. That drone team who came out were amazing.
We actually, it's funny. That was our first day of filming. It was almost like a.
That's right.
It was. I don't know whether it actually became day one or whatever, but
like day zero.
It was like day zero, and we went out and we filmed all day with the drone guys who we had worked with in the past on different commercials and stuff, and they're just a great bunch of guys. They're Cinecoppers in Northern Ireland, and Luke was the pilot, and it's funny whenever the dailies came back or the rushes came back, we both sort of like, whoa, they've created something pretty damn epic here with the look and feel of it, and we're going to have to put our big boy trousers on and try and compete with it, but no, they add such texture to the film and really do make it look like I certainly joked that some of the rising stuff over this Belfast and City Hall, it sort of feels almost like bloody Gotham City. There's sort of there's something sort of quite the nighttime stuff that's quite epic. So couldn't be happier.
And those are I think that kind of when the camera moves in that way, but also the Steadicam that we have in my mind kind of reflects that. Because there's a lot of handheld, and Colin and I knew that there was going to be a lot of handheld in the film. The tension is rising, and it's a race against the clock, really, as the film progresses. But you also have to. I've always believed that. Handheld's amazing, and also because I've done a lot of my own operating, and so it's a great personal experience to be in those kind of spaces with those actors. I almost feel like I'm like the other. It's an amazing privilege to be in there, but. You've got to be careful about, say, having wall-to-wall handheld, because like any effect, the more that you use it, the more it becomes lessened and sort of diluted. And so those, so the drone shot, the aerials, the drone shots, and as well as the really that Steadicam shot that brings it to the bank manager and to Richard and Barry, Hardwick and Eddie Marsan down into looking at the vault. That's a really powerful and very incredibly focused shot. It actually runs quite long. It's very, very smooth, and it just allows it doesn't have any kind of extraneous movement, and so I think just when you have a few of those, at very, very key points, it really they're very, very powerful. I think when a lot of the rest of it is handheld, or and we kind of issued, we didn't. We only actually had a dolly a couple of times, and it barely came out. We probably did a few dolly shots in the whole thing, but those very, very they're almost kind of perfectly placed shots, are they're very, very powerful. I think
it's just it adds to the scale as well. The more variation in the shot formats, as Dee was saying, just it gives a bigger sense of production, production values. And even though we didn't have a big production, definitely didn't have a big budget, but it's as Dee says, we just got, there was obviously a plan and design to certain things, but the way the thing has been cut together and the way the points that those shots come in, we've just got really lucky with how they've landed, and how perfect they are, and they all add to the scale of the thing.
I think one of the things I liked about it, talking about the camera angles, is it looked real.
Well, I think the short answer is, on a film of this scale and budget, there are no set builds. There's a living room that was probably one of the toughest spaces to work in, because it's when the gang members arrive at Barry's house, at Ina's house, and you've got 5 people in a small, it's not a terraced house, but it's a very small house living room, and you're trying to do a couple of pages of dialogue, in a couple of hours, and there's 5 actors, and okay, maybe not everybody has lots and lots of lines, but it's that
I think the yeah, that's it. On a budget of this level, you can't consider any set builds, or so you go looking for authenticity and real locations, and with that brings a reality to it. So,
thank you for your time today.
Thank you.